why the creation of the Noisy Chair happened? Well, people wanted to share their story, concerns, and being loud. Well, I'm here to listen, have an opinion, and talk to people. That's what this is all about. My name is Dave, aka DJ Dave. Love being part of a new journey with amazing people on my podcast. Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Noisy Chair podcast. And I'm super excited to have a special guest from New York on my show, DJ and producer, Saliva Commandos. Welcome, brother. Thank you for being on my show today, man.
Thanks for having me, brother. It's an honor. So,
listen, excited. Man, honor is all mine. I'm telling you, to get, to build what I'm doing, and to talk to great people such as yourself that just share stories and about you and your music and the ability to do that. That's what I love doing. I love to find out, because I'm building a brand myself, and we like to learn from each other. Maybe there's some things that I'll get from you that we can work together, or I can use next time on my show, that you've done. I mean, this is fantastic. So, I may be a little wonky today because I just came back from holidays and I just put this show together last minute. But again, listen, thank you so much. My interviews are all about, taking our listeners on a journey, learning about you and your brand. So, that's, this is what it's all about, but Saliva Commandos, how did you come up with that name?
That name goes back to 1996. I was not really producing music yet. I was DJing.
Okay. Yeah,
I've been DJing for a while, and I was hanging out with a friend. I lived in the Bronx at the time. I'm no longer in the Bronx, but when I was living in the Bronx, I was hanging out with a friend, and we were watching the movie Commandos with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
And we were having a couple of drinks, and then we went out. It's the 90s, and we were drinking, and then started driving, which is not something I advise. Okay, not something I advise.
Right.
But for some odd reason, he put together the word saliva and commandos. I guess, coming off we were watching the film, right, and he was so buzzed. And I liked the way that sounded that I told him, right, so I'm going to grab that name. And when I start producing music, I'm going to use it. And that's how it started.
And you did.
Yeah, that's how it started.
It's simple. It's simple basic, ways of, just it happens so simple. Some people take years to figure these names out. Some people, they go through all this stuff, but you came up after a great night of drinking and watching a movie, and you came up with it. That's awesome, man.
And I haven't spoken to him in a very long time. I don't even think he knows.
Oh, no way. Oh, jeez.
What has become of the name and the brand.
Right. Oh, man. That's going back, what you said, the 90s?
Yeah, that was 96.
96. Okay. Hey, well, it's quite a bit of ways. I'm sure you've seen a ton of people by then, here and there, right? So maybe he knows you have it now. Maybe he knows what's going on in your life. You never know, right? So
you never know. Maybe word has gotten back to him. I haven't seen him in a very long time, and he has nothing to do with the industry. So
okay. Sure. And fair enough, man. That's all good. It's all good. Where did so tell us where you're from? Just give us some brief background of little Commandos. Where were you born and raised, man?
I was my parents are from Puerto Rico, and they came to New York in '69. So I was born in New York, and they migrated right to the Bronx. So I'm literally a product of, the late '70s and early '80s. Living in the Bronx, which is that boom era of starting hip hop and house music and freestyle. So
yeah.
But I'm from the city, from the Bronx. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
80s and 90s.
What was it like back then? Was race an issue back then between colors and of Puerto Ricans, blacks, white Americans? Was race a problem back then? in the music side of things, not just general political stuff, but more like
Yeah,
if you want to get into the music.
I don't. You know what? This is what happens, and I'm
Mhm.
quite sure this still stands to this day. So like I didn't come from much, so my parents didn't
Mhm.
really have any money. So I lived in the hood. And when you're in
Okay.
the hood and that's the only place that you live in, you don't know anything different. So I lived with Latinos and black people. And so for us that was
Mhm.
just normal. So the only white people I saw were on TV. So there was no, for us that wasn't an issue.
Right. Okay.
I'm quite sure it becomes an issue later when you end up in different neighborhoods or you go to school, or
Sure. Yeah,
maybe
man.
not an issue. But
Right.
but musically, it was you know I mean, it's the 80s and it's the Bronx and it's urban.
Mhm.
So my access as far as to music was Latin music, of course, which came from home,
Right.
and what's on the radio. It was a lot of like
Gotcha.
poppy stuff, but then late nights you had Mr. Magic, you had hip hop, and
Right.
then you had some dance music, a little bit, not
Mhm.
much, just a little bit. That was the poppy stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think the hip hop era, late 80s, early 90s, you get into the biggies and that sort and that type of hip hop coming out and being strong in that side of in that side of the US. I mean, we never had in Canada. I mean, obviously we had the music, but kind of a little late in our
Right.
generation, right, in our years. But you got the disco era back in the 60s and 70s. It was pretty big in New York. Getting into the disco side, and that sort of obviously goes in different direction, and then the hip hop sort of taking over. When you're growing up, and the passion for music, did it come from something, DJs, or your parents? Were they into music? They inspired to become what you are right now?
Well, my dad used to play guitar,
Hmm.
and he used to play guitar at home, and he would play a lot of all the stuff that he was play was all Latin based, stuff that
Right.
core music from like the island, Puerto Rico,
Okay.
so that's
Right.
the stuff he would play. And he would
Okay.
play, and he was the first one who started a record collection at my house.
Right.
So I
Okay.
learned that from him. Then my sister, who's older,
Hmm.
she started the disco collection and
Okay.
buying like the Grease album. We're going back.
Right.
I was like 8 years old. We're going back to like 78. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how it started for me. But also during that time, I was about 8 or 9. I had
Hmm.
neighbors who had DJ gear. So they would invite me over and they thought that I could rap. So they would give me the mic. I didn't know I would do like little raps, but that's not what I was
Sure.
interested in. I
Yeah.
was mesmerized with the DJ gear. And
Yeah.
at the time what they were using was Good Times by Cheek. That's what they
Mm.
were cutting.
Okay.
That's what I was exposed to. And I knew it. Immediately I said, that's what I want to do.
Nice.
And then and you just keep going and into the 80s, 81.
Yeah.
And we did
Yeah.
a lot of street jams in New York that I don't know about Canada, but in New York, if you couldn't go to a nightclub, they would throw street jams in the
Okay.
Bronx and I don't know too much about Harlem, Brooklyn, but in the Bronx they would go in somewhere in they will block the street off, use the lamp pole to run the electricity to power the gear, and they would just
Nice.
play music. Now, this stuff, I lived through it, I saw it, but for the person that's watching now that doesn't know, you go to YouTube and they'll give you an entire history of what I'm talking about. That's where I would see. That's why I got introduced to a lot of R&B,
Yeah.
break beats. Like I was
Right.
listening to
Yes.
break beats. Like I didn't know what the names of the songs because I didn't have the app Shazam to to tell me what the song was. So I never knew. For a very long time, I suffered. I didn't know
Mm.
what these songs were, and I would hear
Right.
them on the radio sometimes, like the late nights, like Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out. they would play these breakbeats. I had no idea, like Big Beat and all these UFO.
Right.
I didn't know any of these songs. And it
Hmm.
wasn't until later, I know I'm kind of shifting around, but it wasn't
That's
until
fine.
later when I started working at a record store, you know, in the like the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
That's where I learned the artists. I would go through the records and find out who's what, you know.
Right. That'd be awesome work at a record store at that era, that year, because then you'd be like, you know, you open it up, try it out, play it. You're like, okay, I'm gonna put this aside. I'm grabbing this one, you know, in the next one, and the mixtapes that people, you know, did they have that back then? You know, at that time where, because I know New York was really famous for a strip where, you know, you can buy a ton of mixtapes, guys, DJs that have, you know, made tons of mixtapes or, you know, pressed vinyl, whatever they may have done at that time. You know, was the record store just strictly vinyl, or was it, you know, at that time, was it transitioning to still the tapes?
Okay, but if we're talking about the 90s, the record stores would sell mixtapes. A lot of them were more geared towards hip hop, like the New York guys, like Doo-Wop and Kid Capri.
Okay.
And even Tony Touch. Like, you know, they would sell those. And the record store I worked at, was called DJ Specialty, and it was located in the Bronx on Castle Hill Avenue. Oh no, the Castle area. And we're talking about like 94. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the mixtapes were at these stores already. Not a lot of really house or freestyle.
Yeah.
But it was more geared towards as far as the tapes were more hip hop. Now, if we go back into the early 90s, not really. You would make your own tapes at home. You would sit around and wait for one of the mix shows, either the Latin Rascals or Chuck Chill Out Red Alert, and you would have your cassette ready, and you were ready whatever time they would go on, 10, 11, and just, you know, try to cut out the commercials. You know, every time you would have to hit the pause, you know, record, and then try to wait there and cut out. And then you would edit your own mixtape that you didn't actually DJ, but you would have all these songs that you can buy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That's how it was. I know. I mean, I remember just we had that up here in Toronto, you know. That's exactly what it was. I mean, we didn't have the equipment back then, even the technology back then. We didn't have that to start, you know, and those guys are taking music and samples and they're taking the tracks in a reel and then they're slicing and cutting and you know, and then they'd record it and then go back and edit that again and record layers and layers of it. Fucking take like weeks sometimes to make it.
I know that the Latin Rascals were notorious. The Latin Rascals were based out of New York. I think it's Albert Cabrera and Tony Moran. Okay. They were notorious for that. They would do all these edits, and from what I don't come from that era as far as editing. Like I was too young. I didn't know the technology, but I would just appreciate it because you would listen to like a 15-minute. It was like a 15-minute mix, and it was just a 15-minute mix that must have like 55 songs in it. You know, it's just crazy. But these guys were so meticulous. Yeah. They would take songs that were out and they would just do a lot of the quick edits that were popular at the time, like really choppy, really fast edits. And they would have like a 15-minute. I think you know, you can correct me, whoever's watching, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was about 50 minutes their show, maybe less than that, because it took so long to create one of those mixes because they would work off a reel.
Work off a reel, exactly.
They would actually splice with a razor.
Yeah,
that's so
absolutely right.
I want no part of that. I want no part of that. None.
Now it's all digital now. I mean, like everything's all digital, which is, you know, still takes a lot of this to make it work. But back then it was like you said, cutting it right at the specific moment and then layer after layer. Like a lot of times when I would go to my buddy's place who was a producer and he was doing the same thing back in the 90s. It's like, you know, I'd see him with the reel and cutting on the machine and you know, splicing it. And then he would take a drum beat and he would make that drum beat, you know, into an 8-bar drum beat, and then he would make it, you know, and it would add more drum beats to it. And then he would get that and then layer it on top of that. And it's like, holy crap, man. You know, now it's like you can take you can get a drum beat, like digitally and add it in and manipulate it pretty easily and quickly. Now it's before it was like, holy shit. That's what actually not turned me off, but more of like, fuck, I don't have time for that. I just want to play. I want to listen to music and play music. Right. But I mean, to go back to what you doing back in the Bronx and the street parties, because those are that I remember, watching documentaries on hip hop era back then, and you have throwing street parties into a park or on the road and taking power from a lamppost and driving everyone, putting the two turntables and a mixer and a microphone on top of old boxes and tires and just playing records and having a great party. It is awesome. I love seeing that.
I mean, but it was the early 80s, so you probably get robbed too. It's the truth. It's the Bronx, man. The Bronx in the 80s, right into the 90s. The Bronx was, anytime you mention the Bronx, if anyone was visiting out of the country and will come to New York, the first thing they say is don't go to the Bronx. Because the Bronx.
Well, it does. They do have a name. It does have a name. It's a reputation, I'm going to say, right?
Listen, obviously times have changed, and that's a good thing. But back then, if you can come out of that era unscathed, you did good. I'm telling you, man.
I'm laughing because I believe you, man. I believe you.
Those times were crazy, but you know what? Out of that comes so much great art, and so many great artists from that era. That era, like in the Bronx and then just in like New York, Manhattan. It's a different time, but I'm part of that, and that has contributed, whether subconsciously or consciously, to what I do today. All that emerges in certain moments when I'm working.
Sure.
And it'll show itself in the music sometimes,
Right. I mean, it's very true. I mean, do you think about those times back then when you're playing a track and you hear a certain beat, does it bring you back to that time? Even if it's like a four bar beat, and they're like, holy shit, man, I remember that, like in the old school beats, break beats,
it does. You know what? I'll say this. When I was starting to produce, like I was already DJing, so I had that down on vinyl. So I had my timing. I would always work on my timing, and I started DJing hip hop first, which was so important for me, as far as just timing. Just when you bring things in, because when you bring something in, you can do it easy right now on a CDJ. Just bring the fader up and hit the start button.
Right.
But when you're on vinyl, and this is not knocking anyone who doesn't play vinyl. I don't care about it. I'm just saying, as far as timing, so you have to bring the beat up with the fader, and you got to let the vinyl go, and you got to make sure it doesn't drag, and you got to make sure it goes on. I just practiced that over and over and over, so that helped me with my timing. I know that's not the question you were asking, but go ahead.
No. I mean, no. Listen, I mean, I think it's. I think back then when I was DJing vinyl and the hip hop side of things before the classic house, before the house music came in, DJing all the hip hop stuff, it's like we never had back then. I wasn't really big on BPMs. I faded and blended with the feel of the music, and the fader, you can play with it, right? Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. I mean, that's how you fucking learn from it, right? So the BPMs obviously were a little bit later on in life for me, and I think more of like when you talk about the hip hop side of music and the records being, let's say, 92 to 98 BPMs, less than 100 BPMs. I played music around that BPM, so I knew that I could blend and fade and pretty decently and worked from that. Then you get into, the 90s, you get like the, like R&B, which could be, 110, 115 BPMs and that sort of stuff. So I build, you build your sets around one particular hip hop song, and it's easier to build a set out of that, right? But to go back into what we're talking about, it's like, yes, that sort of style, that's what made us, or make you and made us how we are, where we're DJing. You learn from that, right? And it's that's how you had to. It's like anything in life. You start from the bottom, working with old school stuff, and working at no additions, no helpers, no nothing to help us out to create that perfect set. We did it based on our feel with our hands and our minds and our sound, right? Where we listen to it, and I'm sure you can agree with that too.
No, listen, absolutely. I use my ears. I'm not musically trained. I don't know how to read music. I can't play a piano. I can't play guitar. I'm the
same way. That's right, man.
We're DJs, so we just I use my ears. But I'm gonna circle back to your original question. Was do I hear certain old songs that trigger things for me? Well, this is what's been happening to me in the last 2 years. There were a lot of songs when I first started producing. I had a lot of ideas that I couldn't just make happen. A lot of samples that I would always wanted to use. So those samples now, because of where I am now, bringing all those samples back of those ideas that I had, which are a lot of the songs that are coming out now with the older samples, because I always wanted to use those samples. And it's funny how life works. I'm just circling back to those sounds that I always wanted to use. And at the time, I didn't have the proper gear. I had a sampler, didn't have enough sampling time.
Yeah.
So now it's endless. I use Logic Pro X. So now for me, it's endless. So right now I circle back to those samples that made me feel a certain way emotionally, that take me back to a certain time. And I know that if you can use them the right way, that you can also create that emotion within the song, right? Just manipulating a little different the way kind of I do it.
Sure.
Yeah, so that to answer your question, I do circle back,
That's awesome, man. It's crazy how that you feel that what you've done back then, sampling wise, you're hearing it now in today. You're hearing that. Crazy. It's love that. Love knowing that shit, that's all that's coming back. And it's, when you were DJing back then, I'm gonna say back then, we're growing up in those ages of DJing, where did you end up DJing? Like, were there a ton of clubs back then that you like got into, or just house parties? And how did you get that level up there?
Well, boy, I wish that it happened really fast, but no, it really takes a long time. I'm telling you, I did a lot of free parties, tons of free parties, a lot of house parties, apartment parties.
Yeah, we all did that.
You bring your gear with your I had brothers, so they would help me out, with your brothers and friends, and no one gets paid, but you play for a couple of hours, you have a good time, and I did that, graduated from that into like a sweet 16s and weddings. Then in the 90s, I was studying at Hunter College. I was actually studying film production, but at Hunter College, I was also part of the radio station, which was WHCS, Hunter College Radio. So I was doing that, and because I would do a show there every Wednesday at noon, I had a captive audience of the campus. It would only stay within the campus, so the antenna wouldn't reach anywhere else. But it would stay. You could lock it in the campus on like an FM dial.
Yeah,
and they would pipe it into the cafeteria, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome, man.
You couldn't control the volume. It was just on. That's it. But there was a phone that you can pick up. We called it the bat phone. And when you picked it up, it rang right to the radio station. So if you heard me on live, you can I could take requests and such. But
that's awesome.
Doing that what started to get me club gigs in the city. There were, people that were studying there that were older than I am, that were promoting or starting to promote, and they really liked what I was doing. So they would, I played a bunch of spots in the city, no big clubs, just little spots here and there. Sure. I did that I mean, right up to the late 90s,
Yeah.
you know, and
I
even
love
into the
that.
2000s, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all. I love hearing that. I love to hear exactly you knew when that happened, like the whole radio side of it at college and the campus radio. It's kind of cool because you gained a certain audience at a certain time of day, 12 o'clock, you
Yep.
know, and the music plays in the cafeteria. People are jamming to it while they eat or what they're studying, whatever they're going to do. I think that's awesome. Did you get more into radio at that point? Like, did you get into more, or just strictly getting into, like, when you done your college, you went and did your DJing?
I honestly have to tell you, I had no interest in radio.
Okay.
My only interest was in DJ. So the fact that I had to use the microphone, the fact that I was studying, a lot of people don't know this. I was studying theater is what I was actually studying, which I moved over to a film, but I was studying theater. So the performance part helped me to perform on the microphone.
Right.
I didn't want to perform on the microphone. I just wanted to play music, and it didn't help that the board at Hunter College was very strange. As soon as because it was old, it wasn't like a DJ mixer. It was like a old school board that once you engaged and turned the mic off, you couldn't hear to cue the other song. It was very strange. And I wanted to mix. So I was, that goes back to the timing, and making sure that the beats per minute are good, locked in. And I was pretty good at it, man. I mastered it pretty fast, But that, yeah, I really had no interest in radio. My thing for me was DJing, and then there was that certain point where you start listening to a lot of producers that were DJs and are making music, and you go, that's what I want to do. That was the next step for me,
Yeah.
So that's why I started heading in that direction.
Interesting, man. Were your folks supportive of what you wanted to do?
Yeah, well, this is the funny part. When I first got into DJing, I didn't have equipment. Okay, this is the story, and every time I get around my family for holidays, we always discuss it and we always laugh. I bought records first, and they were like, "Why are you buying double records?" I said, "Because I'm gonna be a DJ, and I'm gonna buy DJ equipment." So I was already prepared mentally. I bought what was it? I think it was I bought the first double copies was Run DMC's Peter Piper.
Oh,
so
nice.
I bought 2 copies, My Adidas. I think it's My Adidas on one side. The flip side was Peter Piper.
Right.
So I bought 2 copies of that, and I was mocked. I remember being mocked. You know what it is. If you have brothers and sisters, man, they will let you know what you're not going to do. And they were like, "You're going to be a DJ," and they laughed at me. But that summer, I had a summer job. I bought some DJ gear. They were not Technique 1200s at all. I was suffering because they were belt driven, and the plate would wobble. Always the worst.
Right.
And you touch the record and it's like, wonky, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I bought vinyl first, then I bought my gear. And that, my progression I was always progressing. Then I knew after studying and going out to certain spots and reading about people that they were using Technique 1200s.
Yep.
So in 1990, got my first pair and just
nice.
Yeah, kept going. My first sampler in like 93, and I just, it's, for me, it was always been about progressing. What's the next step?
Right.
What's the next level? To this day, I'm like that right now. Right now, I'm about the next level,
So you're like thinking ahead of what you want, and that's what you're going to get. Like the technology growing, you're growing with technology. You got to have it, got to get it, got to try it, got to do it.
I try. I really try.
Right. Sure.
I really try because you know what? Technology, for me, man, technology has been my best friend. Technology has allowed me to interact with the biggest DJs in the world, and I don't have to travel right now. I don't have to, like, if I wanted to speak to someone, Instagram, WhatsApp.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah, and just in general about working with people. You know, you could work with individuals, and we don't have to be in the same room. I could just send you this stuff. I send you the stems.
It's crazy.
You know, it's nuts.
It is nuts. Oh my God. Try to do that back then. You know, holy crap.
But wait, back then, try to even have a studio back then. So expensive. If you had one piece of gear, which I had like this little Digitech sampler that was so lo-fi. It must have been like 8 bits. It was and it would hold like 3 seconds of sampling time. I would use it for my DJ sets. So I would sample something ahead of time. But the problem was when it didn't have anything to save on. So if you powered it off, you lost the sample.
Gotcha.
Hated it.
You get nothing to save on it.
Nothing to save. So I would just sample something ahead of time, and when I would do my mixtapes, I would use the sample over and over throughout the entire mixtape. Or I would do an intro. I would be like, because at the time I was in Saliva Commandos, I was DJ George B. So that would be like my ID tag. You know, I was doing ID tags before they started doing them. So I would do that. But listen, me, I'm all about technology. I'm all about moving forward. You gotta push the needle. You have to move forward. You have to.
Totally agree, man. I totally agree. You know, I still have my 1200s, you know, but I also love the new technology of digital, you know, taking a controller or taking CDJs to a gig or playing it on them with USB only or whatever it may be. I'm all about the technology. You know, I was talking to Tricky Morera and big up to Tricky, and he was playing. Yeah, man, guy's awesome. He played at a local, that's a small place. I think it was a pizza bar, and he didn't bring anything. The new Denon system can take your music. You can download, or you can go on, like, sign into your Google and get your music that you stored in your Google and bring it onto the Denon player, and it will play. You don't have to bring nothing, no laptop, no USB, nothing. Just bring your fucking headset and sign into your wherever your music is in the cloud, and it downloads it to the Denon, and you play it, and it's like sign off at night and walk away. I mean, it's crazy. Like, the technology is insane. I love it. I love that. I love the first time that I was able to, when I first started using Rekordbox. Yep.
I loved it because prior to Rekordbox, the way I progressed digitally, first I had CDJs, which I kind of still use one here. The old Pioneer, with the CD, no USB. Right. Then I progressed into a controller from that, tractor controller. Yeah, love that. Would do gigs with that, just great. You know, and there was a period where I wasn't doing much, but I was just doing like gigs. Like I would do events, like corporate events and stuff. Yep. And I would bring that and my laptop, and it was amazing just to bring that and then bring a hard drive with all your music. Right. Then when I started using Rekordbox, and now it's just flash drives, even better, just headphones. I bring a recorder sometimes because sometimes I want to record my sets. Yeah, man. And my flash drives. That's it. Yeah. Unbelievable. I love technology. Same here. If I can find a way to manipulate it to make you, you know, work smarter, not harder, you know, that's the key, you know, to efficiency and you know, having a fucking great time playing music, you know. Yep. You know, lugging, God, man, we did that all year, you know, bringing the fucking crates of music, those big bass bins, you know, rent a van and throw it in there, and 4 guys trying to carry this, you know, oh my God, it is bonkers. I'm glad that, you know, back then that was great, but not, you know, and you get paid nothing, you know, you do it for free, right? And nothing was powered. The speakers weren't powered. You needed the amplifiers too. Right. So when I started doing all these little corporate gigs with Tractor, I have 3 powered speakers, 2 JBLs and a bass, all powered, no amps. Done. Very compact, one-man show with a dolly. That's how I did all those gigs and made decent money doing it, you know. Hey, listen, I still do that today. I still bring 2 15s and an 18 bass, right? And all powered up, and
I bring my controller, I run Record Box, and I go to gigs with that and one man show. Mind you, when you're like rocking it, and the end of the night, teardown is a bitch. You're like, oh my god, I'm exhausted.
You're tired, right? You have to do it on your own. I know.
Oh my god,
been there,
I know. You know what I'm saying? So leading up to that, like, do you still, to go back to the vinyl side of things, do you still have your like some vinyl collection that you still have some kicking around?
This is I'm going to give you a very sad story. So
okay.
I still have vinyl. I still have some of my important vinyl.
Right.
Still have my 1200s. But I had all my vinyl at my mother's apartment in the Bronx.
Okay.
And for some strange, I couldn't store it. It was just too much. I couldn't store it.
Right.
So what I'm going to say is going to hurt. So I had to get rid of it. And the only way to get rid of it was just to throw them out. So I threw out an entire vinyl collection. And I'm quite sure whoever's the recipient of picking them out of the garbage. But you know what?
Is a lucky soul. Is a lucky soul.
I'll say this. I don't like. I was okay partying with it.
So you didn't regret it.
Yeah. It's like, okay, a lot of those songs I can get digitally.
Of course, man.
And I kept the important stuff.
Right.
The stuff that I know, like, all right, this, and I honestly have to tell you, like, I'll play vinyl if I have to, but I don't have a large new collection on vinyl. So
neither do I, man.
So for me, it's like I'm okay with the pioneers and
digital.
But to answer your question, no, I do not have my entire collection, which was a crazy collection. Yeah. I have maybe half of it.
Hey man, I've been down that road with you too, and it's not like, we used to travel to Buffalo. I would pull it out. I'd put out, like, I'd listen to WBLK and it'd come out with the fresh tracks, and I would drive to cross the border to Buffalo, buy that 12-inch, bring it back. I'll take two of them because when the DJ of them, and I always keep one on hand. But as I'm, for me, it's moving around in life and trying to, what career path do I want to go with? You tend to lose some of them, miss some of them. There's some that are just destroyed and wherever it may be. So yeah, I mean, I've been there. I mean, I have collections of that I really spent time looking for, like one-offs of a 12-inch remix, or like just like demos from other DJs that send over that I really, really liked and I kept, that sort of stuff. So there's just, I have a handful. I don't have a crazy collection like some people have, like it's almost like a disease. They gotta, like, they're vinyl collectors. They gotta collect vinyl, right? And I get it. To each his own. Right?
Not my thing. Used to be.
Yeah,
I guess I evolved. I have no interest.
Well, listen, this is where the technology comes through, because technology. You're growing with technology. It's all fucking digital now, right? So,
but you know what? This is where the period of my career where I wasn't doing anything, because we were at the crossroads of technology switching over, and it was that weird gray area. I'm gonna say around in the early 2000s, going into like 2001, 2002, with the CDJs. So I moved away from the Bronx. So for me to drive into the city, into Manhattan, to go to the record shops I used to go to, wasn't worth it for me. The drive was too long. Just the drive itself was like, you know what, I'm all right. So there was a certain point in what I was doing where I was like, all right, so I can't get new music because I'm not going into the city the way I used to. It's too far. So I was like, so what am I going to do? I don't have any new music. So there was a certain point where I would just DJ with whatever vinyl I had. And it seemed like whatever my career that I had built from the late 90s into the 2000s was just like disappearing. Okay. The technology turnover.
Right.
And it wasn't until the digital world really emerged. It really emerged where I was able to get back in.
Gotcha.
So, but there was a certain point, and I don't think I've ever shared this. there was a certain point also musically where, this was around 2007, 2004, 5, 6, 7, where I was like done. Like I said to myself, obviously this is not going to happen for me, and some people have to come. You have to understand that reality. Some people don't want to let things go. And
right.
I think it's really dumb. But at the time, I was like, what? This is not happening for me. I've been doing this for too long and nothing has happened. Everyone everyone blew up. Everyone is doing this, that, this. And for me, it was me making music, trying to sound like other producers. I wasn't getting anywhere with that. And I was just trying to mimic a lot of other people. And then I felt like nothing was happening. Like nothing. I think that was the problem. The problem was that me trying to copy other people, but nothing was happening. And I was literally done. Said to myself, I woke up one morning, I said, I'll do it for fun at home, but I'm not doing this anymore because it's not worth it for me. That's it. I literally, I can describe it as I was like, all right, this is really what my life is. It's not that. I'm not doing Saliva Commandos. That is not happening. But it wasn't until I think it was like 2010. I got a Facebook message from Gladys Pizarro from Strictly Rhythm.
Wow.
And I had sent her some songs. I'm telling you, like a year before that. All right. And here I am throwing in the towel, and now I'm getting a Facebook message from Gladys Pizarro.
Wow.
So she was like, listen, I heard some of your songs. I think I want to sign them. So I was like, random. I gave up.
No kidding. I know.
I'm saying to myself, I'm done with this whole thing. I'm not doing this.
Right.
But she, she signed me to her label launch, and that the records got released. We got at the time I didn't know him, but she got Mr. V to remix one of the songs. She was being distributed at the time by BMG. So it got good promotions. This is around 2011. Then nothing else happened after that. I thought, I was like, oh, this is obviously a sign.
This is your ticket, man.
Yeah, this means something is Gladys Pizarro. No, nothing happened after that. Really, literally. All I was doing was it sucked me back in, which was a good thing. It sucked me back in to start making music. And I just started making music, and I was trying at that time. It was like I was restarting. Very strange.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it's almost like a reset where it's like you cleared your head and just like started fresh.
I started fresh, making music, started shopping it. Nobody wanted it. Everything, all the emails that I got back, not good, not ready. It doesn't sound good. It's missing this. It's missing that. I was like, you know what? This is where we start heading towards me creating my record label, right? So now this is, I want to say 2012, around that time, 2012. So now, I think it's 2012. I want to get the year right. So I decided, I was so fed up. Okay. I was so fed up. I said, you know what I'm going to do? And Track Source, everything was popping off already. People on Track Source and Beatport, everything was already popping off. Right? Oh, yeah. So I'm like, I am going to create a song. And I literally said this song, I'm going to create a song that doesn't sound like anyone else. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to find an obscure sample that nobody knows. And I went on and I started searching, found a dope obscure sample, created some interesting drum sounds. I incorporated, and I'll tell you what the song is in a second. I incorporated, when you really listen to this song, there are spoons in there. I went in my closet and I recorded some spoons clanking and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then found some good drum sounds and just arranged this song that became Off a Merd. And I knew that I had something. Like I knew after I heard it and it was done, I go, oh, this song is gonna be special. And I don't know if you know who Pablo Fiore is. You know, he's down with like Black Coffee and that whole crew.
Right.
He's from the Canary Islands.
Yeah.
He's very popular. And him and I started friendship on Facebook. He was a fan of whatever I had done with Gladys at the time. Mm-hmm. And I had told him, he said, do you have any new music? I said, well, I have one song that I was saving. He said, well, let me listen to it. I sent it to him. He hit me back in less than a minute. He said, I need this song. And I said, all right. And I gave it to him. And during that time, I was already wanting to start my label.
Right.
Because I was fed up. I was fed up with the no's. So I said, you know what? If I start my own label, I have no overhead. Technology's on my side. Right. I can just pay someone to create the logo for me, which I designed on pencil, and let them run with it. Mm-hmm. Then I said, okay, we're at the beginning of this digital thing. I can probably get on TrackSource if I can get some distribution. Did that research. Then as that whole thing is coming together, that song is getting ready to release. So now my label, everything is in motion. I'm running the show. I'm creating the label, not to sign anyone. So I don't think this has ever been done before. I could be wrong. I created the label just for me. That's
just
it.
For you. Just for you.
So I can make music and don't have to be concerned about people saying no. I'm like, no, you're saying no. The public is not going to say no. Right. They'll let me know, not one person.
Yeah.
That's the problem too. You know, it's one person telling you no. So that fueled me, created the label, and I had one record ready to be released, but the song All for Murder on Be the Records came out first.
Okay.
And that did well on TrackSource. It was under Afro House. And it started slowly within 6 months to move away from Afro House into like tech DJs, trance type DJs. I was like, okay, this is crossing over. You know, it was crossing over. And I don't know if it was the samples. I don't know if it was because it was something they've never heard before, you know. And I always play this song in my sets. It's one of my favorite songs. I'll play it. When I play out, I always try to find it to squeeze it in. But it was that song where when I had the moment when I said to myself, forget everyone else. I'm going to create a song that's going to be so special. Like this is what, this is what people have to tell themselves, because this is what I was telling myself. I said, I'm going to create a song that's so special. People are not going to know what to do with themselves. Right. And I actually did.
Perfect.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
Nuts. And then I had my label. Everything was happening at the same, like parallel. The label was coming out. I got distribution through Label Works. They accepted me because they were at the beginning stages. Right now, they accept no one. They're done. They don't distribute anyone right now. Only
they don't, eh?
The big labels. You try to get in. I have friends who try to get in. They got rejected. But I was at the cusp right at the beginning. So they took me immediately. I've been with them for like 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
But so so now I have everything happening parallel. I have this one song coming out, which I knew, I had the gut feeling. I said, this is going to be special. That started to build the name again, the Saliva Commandos name. And now I have the label coming out, which was reinforcing everything. And I was fortunate enough, what was coming out on the label was the music that I believed in. I wasn't worried. I don't have an A&R. I'm the A&R. So if it sucked, it was on me. I'd rather own it that way,
Sure.
So created the label called In Command Records, which the philosophy of In Command Records was to be in command. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be in command of everything that I was doing. I was in command of my artwork, in command of the music, how I made the music, who A&R'd it, me. I did everything. To this day, I still do. So, and what I did is what you hear this term a lot. People say you got to gamble on yourself. You got to bet on yourself. So I did that, and it paid off.
It sure did, man. It sure did. your timing.
It was the
Yeah.
train. I got on the train and I haven't gotten off. I don't want to get off.
Dude, just keep the train rolling, man. Feed it with your music.
It's
Feed it
crazy.
with your talent, you know. That is awesome. That is awesome. Your timing your timing was perfect. Like when you said parallel, you started a label, your graphics, you got your music, your track was just being released. The timing was perfect. And it's like building a foundation for a business. You got to have your foundation, you got to have, you know, the infrastructure, the technology, the product, and you had all of it put together, and boom, there you go. You know, do it yourself. You got to do it your way. You had no one else to say, "Oh, sorry, doesn't sound right," or "Don't really reject it." You know what? Forget that, man. It's all you. It's all you, right?
But you know what? I know teamwork. I understand teamwork. I get it.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I get it. But sometimes teamwork doesn't work, because sometimes you have people in the team that are either envious of what you're doing, jealous, envious, and they're going to steer you the wrong way because they don't want you to go to the next level.
Right. I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, but that's the, sorry, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Say, if your circle is super tight, you know, you can really avoid that, you know?
Right. You can, you know, there's certain businesses that will, you know, benefit from a team and someone who can build a team, and there's always going to be that one person.
I'm not against it. Like, I'm completely not against it.
No, I don't. And I'm saying you are. I mean, everybody's different in that way. With me, you know, I like to do things myself. I'm a solo guy, but I also, you know, I run a team at work, and, you know, so there's certain things that, you know, you can, that you're better off doing yourself. You know, you get it done faster. You make the decisions, you know, whether it's financial, whether it's in your head, or whatever it's got to be, you know, and that's where, you know, getting into the music production side of things. And it's like, you know, we talk about the trend, we get into the house music, we get into, you know, now you got the Afro house, and so you're building this label, you built this label, you still have it, you know, you're creating a certain sort of sample of what Saliva Commandos is about. You know, because to me, sometimes, you know, you look at, you know, I had Booker T on my show, I had Jesse Saunders, you know, when they're producing music, and you know, it's a distinctive sound, distinctive sample that you knew that was them. And is that something that's similar to you, or do you just create beats based on how you feel, what you at that time? I mean, I know that you like to, you know, listening to one of your videos, you like to work on a sample for an hour, step away, come back and listen to it and work on it again. Is every sort of track and beat different than what you normally do?
Well, all the songs are different as far as the sounds, but the workflow doesn't change. It's the same. Like, I'll do exactly what you just said. I'll start with some drums. I'll find a sample that inspires me, something I can hide and bury. I'll find something that inspires me. I'll work on it for like an hour, literally for like an hour. That's it. And I'll come back to it. I'll go watch TV, Netflix, do whatever, go to the gym, come back to it, turn it back on, listen to it, and continue from there. I can't do like long sessions. I wasn't built that way. So I can't sit there for like 5 hours. And a lot of people can do that. That's what they do.
Sure, they can.
I can't do that. My ears will get fatigued. It all starts to sound the same. I'm like, I can't. I'm just different that way.
Yeah.
You know? So
it is different for sure. That's a different way of handling it versus a producer that will spend 8-10 hours, 15 hours, you know, 20 hours at one time just focusing on working on a certain track. You know, you probably know she's a great DJ, like Alexia Tipple. She's from the UK, from Italy, and she spends a ton of time in the studio, you know, and people are built that way. She is built that way, you know. Certain producers are. I'm like you. I'm like I will tend to go. I tend to overthink things, and if I spend a lot of time on it, I'm like, fuck it. Am I doing something wrong? It doesn't sound
Yeah,
right, or that's why
yeah,
you go back and you come back. You're like, oh man, that sounds like shit, or that sounds fucking great. I'm gonna
right,
work on
right.
that, right?
But it's
So you got to,
true.
yeah.
You got to come back. I think you got to come back with fresh ears. But
Mm,
my thing is that I am constantly doing that, which is why I have the high output of how many songs come out, because
gotcha.
I'm constantly working. I really mean, people always ask me, "Oh, I'm working all the time. I'm always
Yeah.
working." So it's not for
Right.
me. It's not being a workaholic or anything like that. It's what I
Mhm.
love. Like I
Right.
actually love doing it. I love creating it. So I've created doing that for the last whatever. Let's just say during COVID, from the quarantine to like right now.
Mhm.
If I showed you the catalog of music that I have is nuts. I mean, it's crazy. You, the audience, like the fan base, you're hearing the stuff that got signed. You're hearing the stuff that I'm releasing.
Right.
You're
Right.
not hearing there's stuff I have, like I play stuff, but and then like when I do my streams on Twitch, which is the new norm, when I do my streams, like I'll play stuff and I'll be like, sorry guys, not coming out. I don't know when this
Yeah.
is coming out. Because then I'll just want to play it, you know? And
Yeah.
then and
Yeah.
then if a label wants to sign it, then I stop playing it. Because I know the
Sure.
label's gonna sign it, then I don't
Yeah.
want it out there. So then I just stop playing it.
Right.
I'll give you a good example of something. So I did this song called Journey to the Center of the Ghetto. When I made
Okay.
the song, I knew it. Like I knew it. I always get a feeling. There's certain songs like it's like Roomba. I have a song called Roomba that was on Melee's label. I knew that was gonna do well. Another song on Melee's label. His label is called Club Bad. Big shout out to Melee. There's a song on there called Work. I knew that was gonna do well. I just get a
Mhm.
certain feeling about certain songs.
Right.
This one, I said, okay, I was getting a little tired of handing people certain songs to certain labels, and then the song will blow up on their label. I'm going, that's
Right.
great because it's still me. But I was like, well, really got to focus on my label as well. So I said, okay, so for 2022, I said I'm going to start releasing a lot of the stuff that I feel that's like super super hot just on my label. Everyone else,
Mhm.
I cut a lot of the smaller labels out, unfortunately, and I was only dealing with certain big labels. That's it,
Right.
Roger. Like Nervous,
Mhm.
Tool Room. I wasn't dealing with any other labels. That's it.
Okay.
So I send the song out because it was being released on In Command Records. I send the promo out. I give it to, I think it was just 3 DJs. I gave it to Fatboy Slim, I gave it to
Mhm.
Mark Knight, and I gave it to Bob Sinclair. Get an email from Fatboy Slim. Amazing. Love this song. I was like, great. Next email, Mark Knight. Could I have this song? So
Can I have this?
yeah. He's like, I love Mark Knight. He's like, yo, can I have this song for my label? He goes, I know you're releasing this, but this is kind of like, this is what I'm looking for. I said,
Right.
all right. I've done this once before. And I said,
Mhm.
because it was a bigger label. And the other label was Nervous. I've done that for Nervous. I go, because they have a bigger platform, bigger
Okay.
promotions. But Tool Room is a bigger machine. So I told Mark, if I can pull it, I'll give it to you.
Right.
Give me a day or two.
Mhm.
Get on the emails with Label Works. I said, listen, I know I have this song is set up to be released. I need it back. I need to retrieve it back. And within a day or two, like they hit me up. The rep, he was like, yo, we pulled it. Hit up Mark Knight. I go, song is yours. Now, Mark Knight is excited. He's like, yo, I think I could clear the sample because it's a big sample. He goes, I think I could clear the sample. We're good. Do the contracts. Everything is good.
Mhm.
Then Fatboy Slim is playing it already. Like he's playing it. He's playing it at
Wow.
festivals. Like he's playing it at festivals. Okay. He's playing it. I went to Miami to go see
Mhm.
him at his party with Claptone. He
Yeah.
played it. But let me go back. So what I love about Fatboy Slim is that like if I'll send him something and he really loves it, he'll do his own edit and sends it. He just sends it to me.
Oh, he
Like,
does.
it's nuts. He just sends it to me, and he'll send me an email. He's like, "Yo, I think you would like this." So he sent me my version of my song. He put some other vocals on it. He put the Basement Jacks, "Where's Your Head At?" Because it's the Gary Newman sample that I'm using on this song. I said, "Oh, this is dope." I go, "This is great," and that's the version that he's been playing. So he played it at Coachella, and he hit me up on Instagram and was like, "From Coachella with love." Video. It's a video. Man. It's a video of him playing it at Coachella. Fuck. I was like, "Hey, man." I was like, "Yo, Norm, thank you so much, man. That's dope." So I post that. Mark sees that. Mark goes, "What version is that?" I go, "That's Norman's version. He's playing it." He goes, "We need that version." So Norman hits me up. Fat Boy hits me up like 2 days later. Yeah. Another video. "Yo, I think you would like this." Played it again at Coachella. Crowd is going nuts. So you already know when you have something special. Like, the crowd is going nuts. I go, "This is going to be a good song." So right now, like with something like that, I gave it to Tool Room. That's going to come out in the summer. So we're in the process of just making sure the samples are cleared and there are no issues.
Right.
But I'm really excited about that particular song because I kind of knew it. I knew it. I had a feeling about it. I was like, this is going to be something good. And, and I've been, getting love from a lot of the big DJs. So
that is crazy, man. Like that, the feeling of that, and just saying it out to them, and they're like, "I gotta have it. You got to give it to me." Or this is the new remix of remake that I did for it. Like, and seeing, I would love to see that crowd. Like you're watching that crowd just jump and feel the music as he's playing it. Oh my God, what a crazy feeling, man. That'd be amazing to see.
I have to tell you, because I am human, it's like I can't make this up.
Right.
I can't. If I were to go back in time and get into the DeLorean, Back to the Future reference, go back in time and go talk to myself in 1999 and tell myself, Fat Boy dropped his album in 99 and say, "Listen, this guy is going to be one of your biggest fans in the future," I would tell you, "Fuck out of here."
Exactly, right? You're like, "Get out of here, man."
But, it's crazy, man. He played in Miami, and him and I have been corresponding over quarantine because that's when him and I really connected, because he really liked one of my songs that I used one of the samples that he used.
Wow.
And his song was it was the Mighty Dubcats. So I used the same sample. And that song was it was called Drum Story, and it's on Roger's label, Stealth. And he got a copy of it and he started playing it. So I hit him up on Instagram and I thanked him. So him and I, we exchanged emails and started that relationship. So he played in Miami, during the winter conference, and I played the hotel party. Roger was on that bill, and David Tort, Markham. It was a dope bill. And then I went to Norman's party, and it was great to meet him for the first time. Like, it was just amazing. Great to meet him in person and to show admiration. He showed me admiration. He's a big fan. It's always surreal when the people that you follow for a long time become your fan. And I'm like, This is crazy. This is all new to me. So I'm like, all right, this is great. And I was like, and it was just a good moment. I got to meet him for the first time. He's a great fan. And it's the same thing with Roger Sanchez. Like, I met Roger. See, a lot of people don't know this story. I'm going to give you all the exclusives. Okay. A lot of people don't know this story. Love it. I met Roger through Danny Rampling. I don't know if you guys know out there, Danny Rampling is from the UK. He's from, he's still very, very relevant right now. He's one of the DJs, part of the techno scene in the UK. I think he helped pioneer that sound out there. And he's still very relevant and playing. And shout out to Danny Rampling. Danny, when I started releasing stuff on In Command Records, started charting my stuff. So for me, it was mind blowing. I was like, Danny Rampling is playing my stuff.
Wow.
So what I do is I always like to reach out which is my advice to people watching. I reach out to everyone. If I don't know you, I'll reach out to. If you're playing my song, I'll reach out to thank you, because that's how you build relationships. So I reached out to Danny, and Danny was excited to meet me as well. I was like, oh, this is crazy, you know. So meet Danny, and we started going back and forth on Facebook, and he was very open with me, you know, giving me some advice. And then I just asked him a basic question. I said, hey, listen, do you have any radio shows or anywhere can you point me in the direction where maybe I can do an hour, like something, you know, one of the popular shows.
Right.
He asked me, do you know Roger Sanchez? And of course I write back, I know of Roger Sanchez. I don't know Roger Sanchez. He's like, hold on one second. He's like, he does a radio show called Release Yourself. He goes, and I knew of the show. You know, he goes, why don't you get on that? I goes, I don't know him. He goes, hold on one second. So 5 minutes later, an email comes in. It's Danny, Roger in the email, and me. He's like, Roger, this is Saliva Commandos. Wanted you to introduce him. He's a big talent in New York. See what you guys can do. Roger writes back, I'm a big fan of your work. I'm like, all right, this is new to me. This is new to me.
That's the first thing he says?
Yeah, we're writing back, and he's like, listen, I know your work. I'm a fan of your work. I followed you since the 90s.
Wow.
Like, all right. But there was an inactive period in my time where I wasn't making any kind of music.
Right.
But Roger knew my stuff from the late 90s, which was very hard. I was doing very hard house, you know. So and that was the beginning of my relationship with Roger Sanchez. And I sent him a bunch of songs. I mean, I sent him so many songs. I must have sent Roger, like, because I had a back catalog. I must have sent like 10 songs. I remember Roger emailing me back. He goes, whoa, I gotta listen to all. He's like, I gotta listen to all of them, man. That's too many. He's like, just hold on, send me. And then he took immediately, he took 3 for an EP. Then he came back. He goes, I'm gonna take these 3 for EP1, and I'm gonna take these 3 for EP2. And that really opened everything up for me. That being connected to Roger that way, and how gracious he was with me, and still is to this day, that's just dopeness, man. You know,
amazing.
And awesome. Armada was distributing him, so they gave me promotions.
Wow.
So that was what I said. Levels. That was another level for me.
No shit, man. Of course.
That was another level. Now I'm with Roger. You know, I'm connected to Roger. You know, now Roger is doing parties, and I went to Miami that March. I knew Roger for like 2 months. I went to Miami. I met him in person. More than gracious, great guy. And then we built our relationship from there. And he did his party. I think it was the year after that, his Release Yourself party, or Under the Radar party, and he put me on the bill. And I was like, and that's it. You know, that's the way things. I don't know, things are sometimes meant to be organically. They kind of one thing leads to another. Kidding. You know, so Danny Rampling. It's always you connect the dots. Danny Rampling. Well, creating my record label and Command Records led me to Danny Rampling. Danny Rampling led me to Roger Sanchez. Roger led me to Fatboy Slim. Crazy, right?
That is
crazy, because
mind blowing.
Released Drum Story, and that's where Norman got it from.
That is craziness, man. That is ridiculous. Crazy, right? It's crazy.
Listen, and I just, you know, and this is I've been very fortunate and blessed. I mean, for me, it's been a very long road. A lot of people think that it's very important that I am no way an overnight success. I'm not saying that I'm a huge name. That's not what I'm saying. But my road to get to whatever this point is as Saliva Commandos, the brand, is long. Is long, man.
Yeah, man.
Long road, man, just to get here. You know, so
nothing was handed down to you or handed to you.
Absolutely.
You worked your ass off to get to this. And, man,
but see that what I just shared with you, only my close friends know that. So I figured, you know, at some point, you know, someone's going to interview me and we're going to do a podcast, and this is it. So I might as well share the story, you know, because it could inspire someone.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. That's what it's all about. This is what it's all about. It's an open conversation about everything that falls into place of your story and journey. And if someone could take that and use that in a different direction and be successful or not successful or tried it and it worked and whatever, amazing. I would feel great. You'd feel amazed, like, man, oh my God, this guy, started building tracks and then sent it to this person, that person, and they got to where they are because of how you did it. I would feel great. I mean, like, listen, to me, you're a humble guy. Okay. You're crazy humble. You're not like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. What, dude, this is why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I knew I felt the way that, you are in your social media. You always tell somebody, hey man, thanks for playing my track. Thanks for, for using it in this set here. You always go to that person and send them a message saying, hey man, big up, lots of love, respect for playing my track. Thank you so much. And that's very humble, man. You don't get a lot of people doing that at all. It's very rare. So big up to you on that, man. Big up to you on that. I'm telling you.
Thank you. You know what? That's just being a human.
Well, it is human. I mean, but the thing is, there's difference, man. There's people that are like, okay, you play my song, whatever. Like nothing against anybody that doesn't respond to me when I say I played their set. Like I did a full Mark Knight 1 hour set on Twitch, going back maybe 6 months ago. And I, tweeted out to him and messaged him and so forth. Never got anything out of it. And I didn't think anything bad about it. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. I had fun doing it. I had fun mixing all his tracks from start to end for an hour. And I think he's a very talented producer, and he's got some great tracks out. And so it doesn't matter if they don't, say, hey man, hey Dave, listen, thanks for fucking playing the set for me, or making a set with my tracks in it. It doesn't bother me. I did it for myself. And if it comes out of it in a good way, hey man, no problem. If it doesn't, hey, you know what? So be it. But it's different from your part, because you spend the time to look at all your messages and see who's using that and see who's doing this, and you're involved, you're engaged. And that's why people like you, because you engage with your fan base, and not just people saying, is he really out there? Like, is he going to say something? Is he going to do something? Doesn't say anything to me, and blah, blah, blah. It's you get people like that.
I think that is important. I think it's important to make sure that the fan base gets acknowledged. When someone, every time, and I get tons of messages from people that play my stuff and they tag me, I always make sure I say thank you, because everything could disappear tomorrow. It's like, I always see it that way. I'm like, listen, this is just a small moment of time. So if you're playing my song, whatever art I created, listen, I appreciate it. I'm so appreciative, because if the fans don't play it, or someone like you don't play it, then no one's playing my music. So if someone plays it, I'm always, every time I get hit up, every time,
for sure,
that's every awesome. Time. The only thing that especially now that's been happening, is that I'm getting tons of messages of everyone wanting me to do a guest mix, and it's like, then I have to put the brakes, because like 3 years ago, I'm like, I got you. But like the way things are now, I'm like, I can't like oversaturate, So I saved I saved the stuff for myself, for my SoundCloud. I do a monthly. I have to plug myself. I do a monthly on there called The Color of Music. We're up to volume 43. So every month I post my own mix. And then I'm trying to be, at this point of my career, I'm very selective of who I'm going to give the mix to. It's unfortunate, but I just don't want to saturate the brand. That's the only thing.
Hey man, that's a great decision as the owner of the label, owner of the company. That's a decision you make on that part. And I agree with you on that. If you take on too much and do too much and saturate your brand, then it's like, because people will probably, if it's too saturated, you're not enticing them and having them say, You know, you're not like, okay, when's it gonna come out with this new track, or I'm waiting for this new set. I run into that problem because I try to be big on like, I gotta have everything out there all at once. Boom, 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 boom. And it's like, I'm getting traction here, nothing there, blah, blah, blah. I'm working so fucking hard at it. For what? Like I'm just oversaturated. I'm just like too much at it. So,
right.
I think you're going in the right direction on that part for sure.
Yeah, just those are the decisions that as wherever you are in your career, like I'm just really discussing like what I'm doing. So where I am now in my career, it's not, I'm a little at a different place than I was 2 years ago. So I can't just like hand out tons of mixes where I used to do, because then the Saliva Commandos name is not really exclusive. It's just everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Right? So I'm trying to narrow it down now to be like, okay, like I'll share this with you guys. I just I did Boris, New York, Transmission. Okay. He hit me up. I did his mix. Super exclusive. Boris is a big name in New York and around the world.
Wow.
So I definitely he reached out and wanted me to do a mix, and I'm not going to turn that down.
Be selective, man. Be selective, right?
So,
you know what's good. You know what's going to work.
Know how to say no. Sometimes you do.
No, I know it's like you get people calling you and texting you, like, or even DMing you saying, can you commission this and can you remix that and remix this and this and that? It's like, you don't want to say no, but you have to. You got to say, it hurts sometimes, like, because you're like, people love me and people want me to do it, and if I don't do it, they're not gonna fucking call me again. But you know what? You just got to do what you got to do, and you're humble about it. And you're like, hey, man, I just don't. You being not selective is not putting it. You're not downplaying them. You're not saying their music or everything is shit.
Absolutely not.
So it's, and I get it that, before COVID, 2 years ago, a lot of things halted. The entertainment industry halted to a standstill. Businesses shut down. DJs that made a living, DJing for a living,
crazy,
stopped. It's like, what are they going to fucking do, right? So, thank God that there was other means of ways of doing it. And I'm going to bring up Twitch, because Twitch live streaming was a pure gaming site, that it's all it was about, for gaming, watching gamers play their videos, Fortnite, whatever they fucking play. And, and then all of a sudden people, and like myself, I love technology like you and I do. I fucking found a way to tap in and make it work. And so did you and everyone else. And then it just blew up, in the DJ industry. And it's crazy. It is almost a saturated industry right now in the live stream era. But if you built your fan base, like you have, or like everyone else has, whether it's 50 people or 7,000 people, like, I'll use this as an example, and him very well. Rob the Boom, the guy's a fucking champ. The guy's a fucking champ. I respect that guy a lot when it came to building a brand for his live stream business. He, hands down to him. I mean, he pushed and hustled and worked hard at it to get where he's at now. I think he's at almost 7,000 fan base on it.
And you're listening. Rob is a prime example of putting in the work. Put in the work. He did all the streams.
Yep.
Hours and hours every day. And he built that. More kudos to Rob the Boom. I'll see him May 14th. That's the homie.
David Morales fucking was like, he commented, and then it's what led to him being on his show, that 36 hours straight.
I remember that. Rob the Boom is nuts, man. He's nuts.
I was like, Rob, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, how are you staying up? And and then you watch his posts. He's making fettuccine alfredo. He's barbecuing a pork chop, and he's he's eating well all different hours of the night. But he's doing it, man. He's working.
You know what? Rob the Boom is once again a perfect example of staying focused and building a brand. Like, he built that with the cooking and the streaming. And listen, he was very smart. I don't know if he meant to do that or it organically fell together.
Yeah, I think so, man. What the thing is, he's consistent with every single show.
Very important.
Consistent. The same time, same place, same and same hours of. If it's going to be a 12-hour stream, it's a 12-hour stream. Whatever it's going to be, he does it. And big up to respects to Rob. I mean, and we'll all see him on Saturday, which we'll plug up that show tonight. About the Masquerade, which is great. Tell us, about the Twitch side of thing. Is that part of your stitch, your brand? Is that what you wanted to do, or you just do pop-ups? So like, how does that work for you on the Twitch side of things?
Well, I used to stream. Wow, man, I used to stream in 2007, but it was a site called stoked.com. I don't know, a lot of people are not familiar with it. But
never even heard of it, man.
It has stoked.com had like 6 camera slots, so it was like I would be the main slot, like, and then you had 6 slots where the first people to log in could put their cameras up. Kind of like
technology. Look at the technology back then. You're a technology type of guy.
I was on it. So why? But this was the time during my career that when I wasn't really doing much. So I said, you know what? I'll stream. So I was just streaming at home. I streamed every Wednesday and every Saturday night, consistent. I did that for like 2 or 3 years, build a nice fan base.
Nice.
Then let it go. But as far as Twitch, it wasn't something I wanted to do. I was like, because I was building the brand and I was building also, if you want to hear me play, you go out and see me play instead of that. But then COVID, really changed that. The quarantining really changed that. So I don't like to go against technology because you will lose.
You will lose. You can't go up against.
Yeah, you can't. So I just went with the flow. I said, okay, this is the new norm. I started on Instagram. First, I would stream on Instagram.
Okay.
Everyone else was doing that. And then, like D-Nice started his quarantine, I think that's what it's called, Club Quarantine on Instagram. Okay. Yeah, so I started there, and then I said, when you start to see all the bigger names come on, I go, I got to jump on this too. Right. So I just did, I had a show. I like the Wednesday slot for me. I always like that. I only like doing 1 hour. I don't like to oversaturate. Everyone is always like, oh, go on for more. I'm like, I'm not here to run marathons. I'm very consistent of how I do it. And it's not anything because the fans are always asking me, stay on. Has nothing to do with the fans. I'm like, all right, this is the time slot. This is what we're doing. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Now, I've been fortunate enough. I was asked to be part of the Sunday Mighty Oosh train, which has Lee Buxton and Mike Freak and DJ Buckers. So I do that Sundays every other week because I am not gonna do it every Sunday, and I do it for 2 hours. That show is 2 hours. Okay. Different fan base exposes me because it's a train, so you pick up whoever's ahead of you. You pick up whoever's in the chat.
Right. Yeah. Great train.
So you pick up people who've never heard you before, and some people log out. It's okay. I'm never offended. I'm like, my sound is not for everyone. Not everyone's gonna like what I do. I always go on the mic. That's one of the first things I say. I say, hey, listen, if you never seen me before, I'm Saliva Commandos, and this is my sound.
Right.
If you want to stay around, you stay around, but I am not changing anything.
Right.
I always stay the course. This is what I play. So you guys can either hang around or leave,
Right.
And for the most part, they hang around, and then you start to see people, go away. But yeah, so to answer your question, listen, I will never go up against technology, never. So I knew that that's where it was headed, and I jumped right on it as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's how we are. I think you and I share similarities, similarities on the technology, because I love, when Twitch first came out, I loved the live streaming, but I stuck to an hour because I didn't want to go more than that. It's like, it's just want to keep it consistent. An hour was good enough for me. Then I started creating, these small little festivals, and I never got into the raid train. Because it was, to me, the raid train was, it's great because you just build the followers and followers and followers. But if someone came on late, they would only come on to your Twitch to listen to you.
Right.
Right. They'd have to go to the first raider that did it to get into the raid, blah, blah, blah. So to me, it was like it was confusing for me. So I just thought, you know what, which was Twitch was great about, is that you can give them certain codes and access to your stream, to your live stream, opposed not giving your full access, but
right.
a temporary access code, and having people come on and play at a certain time. It was kind of cool because you're building a small little festival,
right,
blah, blah, blah. It was cool. It was kind of, that was good about that. And
that was like the beginning stages. Right?
Yeah, man, of
before
course.
the raid, before people figuring out the whole thing with the raid. Yeah.
Right. And it was fun doing that. And the pandemic, besides all the bullshit about it, it did help us to create other means of directions and other means of engagement to let our fan base know that we're still here and we're going to make music and we're going to play it. Right. So it was fun that way. Now that things are, getting back to the way it used to be, and or things started getting better, and, we can travel now, we can do gigs, there's places that have, like in Toronto, places have completely closed down, and, and it's nuts. And now that things have started to open up, you got, the Wiggle Room, and I'm going to bring this up. You got the Wiggle Room this Saturday night, May 14th, here in Toronto.
Yep.
And, this is great, man. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. The City That Never Sleeps 4, and Masquerade, can't wait for it. And I think that it'll be great to see you in person, because I'll come and see you. I'm going to be there as well, and definitely see you out there, man. You got a good lineup of DJs that are playing with you, man. It is unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Like Melanie Sutherland, I have tremendous respect for her. She's an awesome,
good people,
awesome cat, man. Awesome person, awesome cat, awesome DJ, and of course, Rob the Boom and Mars Bars. I mean,
yeah.
G Money. Fuck, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, man?
He's a good dude, man.
Oh my God. I mean, him and his brother, I respect all of these guys, all the ladies and everybody. The Jeremy Little brothers are just been phenomenal in building my brand and their brand. We work together a lot of projects, and it's, man, and G lives like probably 5 minutes from my house, so it's cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. You got Taken, and you got Randall Pink and Paulo. Which Paulo's a good friend of yours,
yes.
So I mean, man, this is crazy lineup you got there, man. Crazy.
Yeah, this is gonna be dope. I played all the City Never Sleeps parties, so I really enjoy watching Paul build the brand, and I'm glad that I'm a part of it. I haven't been to the last time I was there in Toronto. I played his party, which was 2 years ago, I think, before right before COVID.
Right before COVID, man. Paul's a great dude. I mean, he's a great cat. I mean, I respect him. He's great on building a brand like the One Level One, and it's
promotions,
man, I tell you, and
he's good at promotions. Excellent.
With his partner Pietro, rest in peace. He's a beautiful man. That guy was awesome. Continuing to share the love for house music, and Paul's doing a great job to get parties, shot off, and it is great. And I'm glad that you are coming up. Are you flying in? Are you driving? How are you coming up here?
Yeah, I'll fly in Sunday. I mean Saturday. Sunday I'll be flying back. Sunday I fly in. I guess in the late afternoon I'll be in Toronto.
Okay. Are you sticking around with? Do you staying in a hotel? Or you staying
Yeah,
with
I'm
some
staying in a
friends?
hotel, and then we'll do the gig and whatever else,
Yeah,
and then fly back to New York Sunday.
Sunday, man. One night affair, man. One night
Yeah,
is
yeah, man.
crazy. So I mean, listen, this Saturday night. I mean, the Saturday's 14th and I think the first DJ starts at 9 o'clock. There's a full time list on the Facebook. Located at the Wiggle Room in Toronto. Tickets are $30. They're going fast. Prizes for the best masks and costumes, which is great. I think they do
That's an
that every year.
incentive.
Yeah,
Right?
no kidding, no
Yeah.
kidding. But the club's located at 772 Dundas Street West, and the times of the lineups will also be posted on the event listing on Facebook. So make sure that you are there. I know I will be, and I am looking forward to to hearing all the DJs. I mean, it's going to be crazy, and hearing you. I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm an old man now, so I won't be able to stay up till the 3, 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning side of things like we used to. But
Right.
I'll definitely be checking out your set, and then it'll be fun, man. I mean, it'd be great to have a drink with you and meet up in person, which would be fantastic.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, man. So, listen, I'm all for the Saturday. Anything you want to talk about with Masquerade? Anything you want to say about him?
Just listen, I'm excited to go back. Excited to play with all the DJs, and it's gonna be a really good time. So purchase your tickets, come check out Saliva Commandos and the Toronto crew.
That's it, man. The Toronto crew. Hey, I'm glad you were part of it. Paul says that you were going to be part of it, and I thought it would be great timing to get you on board of the podcast and talk to you and share your story and talk about this Saturday night. I mean, we'll definitely get together afterwards in the next little while and see how you're going. Where do you see yourself in, like, say, 3-4 years? What's any new plans or anything you want to do?
For me, it's always levels. So I mean, I don't know. It's hard to put that out there like publicly, but I mean, for me, it's just I'll just keep it like that. For me, it's just levels, like just at the beginning stages, which
Right.
Not having a lot of gigs to remixes, and then getting the gigs and knowing the bigger DJs, and
Right.
and then playing big parties, and then just everything for me is next level. What's the next level? I'm always worried about the next level. So in 3 years, I want to be in three different levels. Without describing it, without sharing. I'm not going to share.
Of course.
I keep that to myself.
Man. You know what? You keep that to yourself, and that's also part of a good entrepreneur is, thinking to yourself, okay, I know what I want to do. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to have to broadcast it about it.
Absolutely.
And
no, you don't.
some people like to talk about, hey man, the next 3 years, I'm going to be here. That's okay. If you got a goal to push for publicly, you want to tell everybody what you want to do, no problem. You want to keep it to yourself as an opportunity to know that this is what your personal goal, what you want to do, levels to it, man. Love it. Just as important as that. So, I mean, I really do appreciate, the total, the honesty, the journey that you brought to us here, which was amazing. And I thank you, man. I really thank you for coming on board tonight.
Thank you for having me. I hope that someone gets inspired. If we can inspire someone to move forward and do some things from this podcast, that's dope. If we can sell some tickets and get some people to check me out on Saturday, that's dope as well.
Buddy, I'm going to tell you, and I'll be putting the link on after the show, and and it will be it'll give a few more days of people buying tickets online and get information about it. The Wiggle Room, Saturday, May 14th. You got Saliva Commandos is going to be playing at this place. He's going to be kicking the shit out of Toronto with his music, and alongside This motherfucking DJ. He's got the lineup is sick, brother. The lineup is totally sick, and I love it. And I can't wait to see everybody else that Rob, Melanie, Apollo, G. I mean, all those guys, Randall. Can't wait to see them all and give them a big hug for pre-COVID, post-COVID, whatever the fuck. Just
right.
Thank God we're back in it again. Thank God we're back
finally,
here again.
Finally, right?
Oh man, listen, brother, I really appreciate you coming on board tonight, and again, we're gonna be. I'd like to bring you back on again after in the next year or so, whatever, to see what you're up to, and we talk and we'll go from there, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. This is, by the way, this is like the first podcast I've done where we're just talking freely, and so listen, you got the first podcast.
Respect, man. I love it, buddy. This is awesome, man. And it's I can't say anymore. This is amazing. So I mean,
thank you, man.
Respect to
I'm
you.
honored to be on.
Hey, man. I wish you nothing but huge success in your business, your brand, on what you're building, and you'll always have my support, top to bottom, 100%. And I'll always encourage everybody else to buy your tracks, listen to your tracks, follow you anywhere. Obviously they could, get a hold of you on your email because your email's in your Facebook, or DM you wherever, and you're an easy guy to get a hold of, whether you're busy or not.
You can find me everywhere. Instagram,
find
Facebook,
you everywhere, man.
Twitter.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Done. Brother, thanks so much for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me.
I look forward to seeing you Saturday night. We'll have a drink and we'll listen to some great music, and we'll see you then.
Awesome,
brother. You take care, and we'll see you then, man.
Thanks, man. Peace out.
All right. Peace out, buddy.